I'm interested getting your take on all this. You know, I mean, these are redacted documents. Most of what they released was redundant, was the original affidavit that we've already seen several months ago. So it's kind of interesting what they're including in this. When you get to it, I thought a really fascinating part of this was when the Kohberger's defense team goes into the Washington State University apartment. They go back to this apartment in January, and they have the officer who's guarding it and having the search warrant paperwork. She has an exchange with Kohberger's defense attorney. So that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, break that down. Let's talk about that. What happens there?
Okay. Do you want to put it up on the screen?
Sure. Let me.
So, yeah, if you've got it, it's really hard to read this small.
You can't.
So,
you know what? Let me see if I can pull it up while you're talking about it real fast. Let me see if I can pull it up and then share the other screen real fast. Go ahead.
So the document that you're seeing on the left is an officer's report from January 10th. So this is when Kohberger's attorney, Ann Taylor, and a couple other people on her attorneys on her defense team go to Kohberger's apartment, and she presents, so his defense attorney presents the Washington State University officer with a signed note from Bryan Kohberger that says, I give my defense team permission to go in and take items out of my apartment. So if you can, I don't know if we can see it yet.
Here, hang on. I think I have it. Hang on, let me see if I.
And while you're doing that, let me just say what the other letter is on the other side. So they go in January 10th, and then they come back 9 days later on January 19th to take additional items from his apartment.
Right.
I think you can make that bigger.
Yep, I'm trying to do that right now. Can you guys see that? Everybody see that?
Hopefully you guys can. I'm a little blind without my glasses on, but Chris, you can read that.
So I'm going to go ahead and read it. How about that?
Sure.
All right. So WSU Police Department says supplemental narrative. So this is the narrative that Karen was just talking about. So the defense team comes back, says, hey, we've got permission to go into this. And, so the officer's there to obviously cover. So upon contact with Taylor, which is the defense attorney, she shows me a signed letter from Bryan Kohberger granting Taylor's defense team access to his apartment to gather some of his belongings, but didn't let me keep the paperwork. Taylor stated they would email me a copy of the paperwork from my records. Did that happen, Karen, as of this writing, as of that couple of days after this?
Apparently not. Apparently, almost a week later, defense team hasn't done that. And is that part of protocol, Chris? I would assume.
Yeah, I mean, you would, if the defense is saying, yeah, we'll get it to you, then yeah, you should be able to get it. Now, we don't know if they didn't send it to the DA's office. Okay. But the department needs it, WSU needs it for their case file, because this is their case number, okay, 22W4386. And so it needed to be attached to this supplemental report. But here's what's interesting. She opens the door for him, grants 3 of them access to the apartment. So that's the attorney and 2 of either an evidence person and probably one of their investigators. And these are the investigators we talked about on one of our last presentations, where we broke it down who they are and what their strategy is. So here they go into the apartment, okay? And what do? They take a flat screen TV and a computer monitor. Now, why is that important? In my opinion, if that is a smart TV and he had some type of surveillance capability, i.e. he was tying into Wi-Fi, or he was doing, something that he had the skill to do, and we talked about this months ago, then that TV may have evidence on it.
So my question is, why wouldn't police have taken that TV into evidence?
That is a great question. I don't know.
Or is it possible, if it was a smart TV, could they have gotten the information off of it and just left the TV
Yes.
itself?
Absolutely. They could have downloaded everything. So we don't know that. So we're going to give them the benefit of the doubt that they downloaded everything in a, you can just put a drive in it and boom. They've got enough technical people with ISP and the feds that can just drop everything right onto that puppy, an external hard drive, and you're out of there. So I'm going to give them that benefit of the doubt 100%. But interesting enough, they also removed, and this just could be miscellaneous items, right? A computer monitor, a small box of miscellaneous papers and receipts. Wait, why is the defense going and taking these items? Well, that's because there are conversations going on with Bryan. Attorney-client conversations. And that means he's probably giving them ideas on what to get out of that apartment. Not necessarily it's showing a consciousness of guilt or anything to that point. But it's kind of like, hey, well, you need to get A, B, C, and D. Okay. And so the officer's watching what they're collecting, and she is making notes, what they're collecting, and putting it into her officer's report. So what she's doing, and good work by this officer, is basically telling the DA, hey, this is what they grabbed when they were in there, a laundry basket full of books and medium-sized box that I couldn't see the contents. So you see, she's looking over their shoulders and just kind of doing what the defense does to the cops, looking over their shoulders. Go ahead.
Let me jump in here. The books I found fascinating. My obvious question, maybe all of you have the same question. Did the police open up those books, right? What if mementos potentially, this is a what if mementos from the victims are in that book or those books? We don't know what could be in those books, but we all know that people keep keepsakes in books. And if people wanted to ever hide stuff, you could, potentially do it. So I found the books fascinating. I can't wait to hear, obviously we're going to have to wait for the trial or down the line to find out. But, and I hope police went through those books and got whatever they needed. I don't, we don't know, but.
And Utah, the answer is yes. It is definitely a problem if the defense, just like the prosecution, now the and neither side has to collect everything. I mean, you would not have enough storage for everything sometimes. What you want to do is collect all the evidence in the crime scene, i.e. at the house, as everything that you can get, but sometimes you're not able to get everything. So a lot of times the defendant will talk to their attorneys and say, hey, can you get over to the house and, grab A, B, C, and D. Now, some of this could just be stuff that they want. Okay. Not necessarily the defense, but the family, hey, I want the TV. I want this. I want that. Or it could be just like what we're talking about. There's other stuff in here because this officer is really paying attention to what's going on here. They were at the apartment for approximately 10 minutes, and I advised I could lock the door after they left. So they went there with a purpose. They went there with a purpose. They get there, the officer opens the door, and they go in. They know exactly what they're looking for. Well, how did they know what they were looking for, and where would they find it unless they had a conversation with their client?